Hi, I'm right back, but anyone who's watching this video, you might have taken as long a break as you saw fit. But I'm going to continue with the thoughts from the video immediately prior to this, and this was again an attempt to lay a groundwork in order to approach the theme of artificial intelligence. In this video, I would like to offer us another story to go with the ones that we've encountered throughout this course. And this story, the characters in this story will in some way they will be familiar to us. They will be old friends, and this is because I believe it's the same. I believe this was the first video immediately at the outset of the Corona crisis. The first video that I published in here for this class, and it was the story of the useless tree. And again, I believe that was on the first video. If you recall, the two interlocutors were named Chuang Tzu and Hui Tzu. And these two figures, they again appear in this second story that I would like to tell today. And this is the story of, the title of this story is The Happiness of Fishes. And so the story goes more or less like this, that Hui Tzu and Chuang Tzu, this time they find themselves not on the road before a tree, but rather on a bridge over a river. And they're peering into the water from that bridge and observing the water and the fishes. And Chuang Tzu makes a comment. He says, he's just making an observation. He says, "Look, Hui Tzu, how the fishes, they dart this way and that way into the sun and then through the sticks and so on and so on." He says, "Such is the happiness of fishes." Hui Tzu, though, comes with an objection. Hui Tzu says, "Chuang Tzu, you are not a fish, so how is it that you know the happiness of fishes?" Chuang Tzu responds, and he's sort of taking for granted Hui Tzu's premise here. He says, "By that logic, you are not I, so how could you know that I don't know the happiness of fishes?" And forgive me if this sounds like it's going to go into an interminable spiral of dialectical perplexity. We will save ourselves, I promise. And so Hui Tzu responds. He says, "That's a fair point. But recall that it's true, your point that I am not you, but my original point, that point also still holds, which is that you are not a fish. And so I maintain that how do you know the happiness of fishes?" And finally, Chuang Tzu comes with the last word, and maybe it's no accident, he's of course the author of this story, and so he gets to be the hero. He comes with the last word and he says, "Let's take this back to the beginning. You asked me, how do you know the happiness of fishes? In your question was implied that I do know the happiness of fish, because otherwise you would not have asked that question." Might sound like kind of like a trick or a sleight of hand, and maybe it is, but it would be similar to saying, how do you know there's an elephant in the room? And so if I asked you, how do you know there's an elephant in the room? I'm assuming that somehow you know there's an elephant in the room, and then I'm inquiring how it is that you came to that knowledge. This is to kind of analyze the logic and the tricks and the acrobatics and the logic of this story. It's something that if we have interest to do, we could carry it out in a different forum. I don't think a video like this is conducive to that kind of analysis. If we have interest, we can carry it out on the discussion board, for example. The reason, though, I wanted to present this story to us is rather than using it as a demonstration of logic and premises and conclusions, I wanted to use the story because the story can present in some way Chuang Tzu and Hui Tzu as representative figures of two kinds of knowledge, approximately representative figures of the two kinds of knowledge that we've been considering. This was knowledge as facts or propositions compared to knowledge as understanding, familiarity, we could call it. And so if we just think about that story, Chuang Tzu appears as the representative of understanding kind of knowledge, and this will be clear by the fact that he's able to perceive the kind of the natural behavior of the fishes, and he's able to recognize that as an expression of happy fishes. Hui Tzu is again a sort of antithetical representative of the antithetical kind of knowledge, which is the knowledge that thinks of knowledge in terms of propositional content or facts, right? And so, as far as Hui Tzu is concerned, it's not a fact that the fishes are happy. Yeah. It's a fact that they're swimming in a certain way, but stop there, right? And so these and then we could carry out their exchange, and see how those two different views are kind of put into dialogue, and one of them wins out in the end. It's not unlike the way we see in Plato's dialogues. We come to understand an issue not by being fed propositions about it, but rather seeing two sides of approach to the issue, right? And so in some way, that story itself takes Chuang Tzu's side, because we become familiar with knowledge as such, and we see it from different takes on it, so to speak. Again, I think it's no accident Chuang Tzu was, of course, the author of that story, not Hui Tzu. But what I want to suggest is that the story like that, this can help give us an idea of how to approach intelligence, because that was our artificial intelligence. That was our theme. That is our theme for this week. And so what I mean by that is, in order to ask this question of artificial intelligence, we need to know what we mean by intelligence, right? And also artificial. And that's something we can take up later, probably in the next video, and consider more in depth specifically what we mean by those words. But on that note, I will conclude this today's lecture in these two parts of the video, and then of course, as always, with the invitation to further discussion and exploration of any of these themes on our discussion board. And so, thank you for your attention today, and until next time,